Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning an original composition that Stephen wrote, which I believe he's calling Dream State. And if he changed the name, I'll put the name up there or there, somewhere over here. Now, I think that is a fitting name, so if he's sticking with it, I think it's a fitting name because to me, this song has a very Disney-esque sound to it. You know, when you listen to a Disney song, it always has that kind of magical, or how do you say, this sense of wonder to it. And I think this song really kind of translates that feeling, at least when I listen to it. Now, as far as playing wise, this is actually a really great piece for the intermediate player. It's not super duper hard, but there are quite a few things that are going to be perfect for those of you who are at that level. So for example, it's got some really cool hammer-on pull-off licks, and it jumps around from playing up here to all the way down at the end of the neck. So it's a really good one for breaking out of playing only in the beginning of the neck. So it's got some fun stuff that will be perfect for the intermediate player. Now, as far as this lesson is concerned, we're going to be learning the entire song in this video, but if you guys want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Dream State. Also on that page is going to be the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down any speed you wish. Just a really great asset for learning this song that much easier. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about before we kick into learning it, this song for the most part is going to be in 4/4. Sometimes we switch to 3/4. I think there's only 3 bars that we're playing in 3/4, so I'll give you a heads up for that. But if you're new to counting out rhythms, I'm going to put an introductory lesson to our intro to understanding rhythmic notation. But honestly, guys, there's no better way to really understand or comprehend how rhythm and timing connect than by learning to read. So check out our reading course to really get a good grasp on rhythm and timing. Now, as far as our right hand technique, we can pretty much play the song out of a 3-finger approach. So that means that thumb would get string 4 and 3, index gets string 2, middle would get string 1. So you can use that approach. You could use a 4-finger approach where each finger gets its own string. Either or works. Pretty much for me, I think a 3-finger is a good way to play this. So let's do this. Let me go ahead and play the first measure, and then we'll break it down and learn it. Okay, so let's tackle just up to there, and I played the first hit of the next measure, but it kind of sounds like a complete phrase to me. So you can see off the bat, we're starting with simple chords that we already know. So we've got a G chord. So the thing with this tune is that you can kind of mix different sounds by using different approaches. So what does that mean? That's kind of confusing. Well, if we look at the first hit, we're playing a G, but only the top 3 strings, so string 4, 3, and 2. If I pluck it, it sounds one way. If I strum 4 to 2, it sounds a different way. So as you work throughout this song, I want you guys to keep that in mind. Think about what method you're using to do the attack. So experiment a little bit and pick the one that sounds pleasant to your ear. But for this first part, I think I'm going to just pluck those strings, so 4, 3, and 2 out of the G. And you can see I'm starting with the middle finger up, so I'm going to play an open A and then follow it up with the second string. Okay, and our rhythm's going to be 1 and a. So we have 1 and a. After that, put the middle finger down, make it a regular G chord, hit the first string, and then the open G. So putting the first half together. Okay, we have 1 and a, 2 and. And again, 1 and a, 2 and. Now at this point, you're going to jump all the way up the neck. So here's what I want you to do. Lift the index finger up, and I want you to slide these 2 fingers, keep them in the same frets, so fret 3 and 2. Slide that all the way up until you get to the 10th and the 9th fret. So for most ukes, they have a guiding system, so to speak, which is these fretboard dots. Now, not every manufacturer is uniform in how they lay out the dots. Some start with the first dot on the 3rd fret, some start with the first dot on the 5th fret, so take a look at what you've got. Keep in mind the dots are usually up top here, so you don't have to pivot the uke down to see them on the fretboard. But my first is 3, 5, 7, 10, and the last one, the double dot, would be 12. So if I memorize these dots, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, that helps me when I have big jumps like this. Now the other trick with jumping up the fretboard is you don't want to watch your fingers slide up like that. You want to keep your eye on the prize, and for me the prize is the 10th fret. Because I know I'm keeping this same shape intact, then I'm leading with the ring finger. So I'm going to keep my eye on that 10th fret dot, and I'm going to move my hand until it meets the eye. And it's as simple as that. Okay? So what you want to practice is that transition. So you take that first half, and you just practice going all the way up to that next one, and just loop that. So hit pause on the video and just loop that to get used to it. Okay? So we're starting on 10-9. I want you to pluck that, and then pluck the open G. Go down a whole step, so to 8-7, pluck that, and hit the open G. Okay, and that completes that measure. So if we put that bar together in its entirety, it sounds like this. Alright, let's give it a shot. Slow. 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and if I play without counting, let's try again. 3, 4. Nice. Now keep this shape intact. What I want you to do is lift the middle finger up, move the ring down a half step to the 7th fret, and then put the index on 5 on string 1. So you're going to pluck that, and I want you to sustain it. Okay, so we're playing out of a higher voice of a G chord right here. But I want you to sustain this as you pluck the open 4th string. You're going to pluck it 7 times, but it's easier to think of it from the rhythmic standpoint. All eighths. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? And the other thing you can hear is that I put a little accent on beat 3, so you can hit 3 a little bit harder. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, it's a subtle little trick you can do to put a little bit of spice in your playing. So let's do this bar together. So we're going to pluck, let it sustain, and then hit that open G for the remainder of it. 3 and 4 and. Nice. If we backtrack, measure 1 into measure 2, sounds like this. 3, 4. Awesome. Now if we look at the 3rd measure, it's actually identical to the 1st measure, almost. So the question is, how is it almost identical? Well, let me play the first part and you can hear. Ooh, up to the 2nd to last note, we have everything identical. So check it out. 1 and a 2 and 3 and. So when you get to beat 4, here's what you're going to do. So go ahead and move your fingers up to 10 and 9. And I want you to keep them right there. What you're going to do is you're going to put the pinky finger down onto the 10th fret of string 1. So you have a double 10. You're going to pluck that and then move down to that 7, 5. Okay? Listen to this entire measure in its entirety. Okay, so you can hear da 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 bum ba da da da. Right, it's a very catchy one to sing out, but it's almost the same as the first measure, just a tiny variation at the end. Okay, so get comfortable with that little change at the end, and let's try the entire measure together. 3, 4. Okay, now at this point, you're ending on the end of 4 for measure 3. You're going to sustain that G just like we did before in measure 2. Sustain this G chord, and I want you to vamp, which just means we're playing one note. We're vamping on the fourth string again, but this time we're playing it for less. We're going 1 and 2 and 3. So play it up to beat 3, eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3. At this point, you're going to transition into what basically looks like an E minor. So make that staircase E minor chord, but lift the first finger up. So you have 4, 3, and then the open A. So that's how this is going to end. So check out this measure in its entirety. Okay, all eighths. So the trick here is again going to be the little transition. I end on the G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I need to transition to that little E minor chord shape. Okay, so you want to practice that. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The other trick too, you can see that when I move up there, I add the ring finger first and then the middle finger after. So I don't have to go together like that. I add one finger when the music calls for it. So 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, so that's the other trick. You don't always have to move everything in unison and get the chord formed right away. You can make it a lot easier in your transitions if you only add what's needed at the time it's needed. So another little trick. All right, so let's try that measure together, and then we're going to backtrack and try 3 to 4. So just 4 by itself. And actually, let's start on the end of 4 from beat 3. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Cool, if we backtrack 3 into 4, and I won't count, we'll keep it steady. 3 and 4 and... Alright guys, so let's go ahead and try the first 4 measures together. Here we go. 3 and 4 and... Nice. Now going on to our 5th measure, here's the first one we encounter where we switch to 3, 4. So remember, you want to count 1, 2, 3, and then to the next measure. And the measure after this reverts back to 4, 4. So keep that in mind. But here's what this measure sounds like, and to me it's got kind of like a march feel to it, which is kind of cool. So this is what this one sounds like. So you can hear ba ba da 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 da. So get that rhythm stuck in your head. Now it's going to start with just a pluck. It's basically, you can think of it, it's really out of an A minor with an added 9, this B note. But sometimes we think of this chord if we strum from the 4th string down as a C major 7. But what I want you to do for the context of this measure is just to pluck 3, 2, and string 1. Okay, at this point, we're going to do a hammer-on pull-off. So you're going to go 2, 3, 2, and then what I like to do is add another pull-off to the open A string. But you want to match that timing. So if you look at the rhythm hits up there, you can see that on the end of 1, it's a 16th note triplet. So we're literally putting 3 notes into an 8th note time frame. So keep that in mind. So that means that you have that happening over the triplet, and then when you pull off to the open A, that's on beat 2. Now the rest of it is pretty simple because it's going to go open, then 3rd fret of string 2, and then back to open. Okay, so you have open E, 3rd fret of string 2, open A. So that's going to be and 3 and, so remember 3, 4. That's what it sounds like if you put it together. Okay, so hit pause and work on that. The hard part is that hammer-on pull-off, especially with the speed that it needs. Okay, so you have and 3 and. All right, so let's see if we can try slow. 3, oop, caught myself. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So definitely one that you may have to practice. I think it's probably one of the hardest measures of this tune. But going into the next one, we're going to basic G, and I like to do a strum for this one. You can see it vamps between the G note, but the G on the open 4 and the fretted 3. So I want you guys to go strum, and then string 4, string 2, string 4, string 2, string 4, string 2, string 4. I think that's the correct one. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So remember, back to 4, 4. So strum 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. So really simple bar. Let's give it a shot. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Nice. Now the next measure, measure 7, literally goes right back to exactly what we did for the 5th measure. So you're playing everything identical right there. And then the 8th measure sounds like this. So you can hear it's almost the same as that A minor bar, but we're playing out of a D. So for this D, I want you to take the index finger, put it on the 2nd fret of string 3, middle finger underneath that, 2nd fret of string 2. You're going to pluck those two, and then you're going to do another quick hammer-on pull-off. That's a 16th note triplet, and that's going to be on the end of 1. So far we've noticed one big thing as well. Remember, measure 7, even though it was the same as measure 5, that means that we're back in 3-4. This 8th bar continues in 3-4. So keep that in mind as you're playing through. So I've got pluck, hammer on pull off, 2, 3, 2, and I'm going to pull off again to the open E. Okay, but keep that same attack, same rhythm, same everything from the previous A minor bar in mind. At this point, you're going to pluck string 3, which is still the index finger held down, then use the ring finger to play 3 on string 1, and then middle finger to play 2 on string 1. So together you have. All right, let's give that one a shot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if we backtrack, let's try all of those last 4 bars together. So we're starting on 3-4, going to 4-4 for the G chord, and then back to 3-4 for the last 2 measures. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Alright guys, so that gives us the first 8 measures into this tune, and that's everything for theme number 1. So I'm going to cycle through theme number 1, just play everything just to give you a context of how far we're into the tune. It sounds a little bit like this. Okay, so that's a good gist of everything that we've covered so far. So we're going to move on to the 9th bar, and that's going to start our 2nd theme. So we'll call this section theme number 2. So this one is actually going to start pretty similar. So we're going to kick off with the G, and you're going to notice that we have a little bit of repetitioning happening. So let me play the first bar for our bar number 9. Okay, so that's 3/4 of the measure. So we're back in 4/4, that's a big thing. So we have 1 and a 2 and 3 and. So a little tricky rhythmically wise. You may want to approach this memorizing how it sounds, so memorizing the beats. Much easier to sing da 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 da. So that gives us the first 3/4. So go ahead and make that G and start again with the middle finger up. So I want you to either try a pluck for the first one. So pluck 4, 3, and 2, and then you're going to do the same little notes after that you did in the first measure, which is open A, then string 2, and then add the middle finger back to make it a regular G and pluck string 1. So just try that. So it sounds like that. So I'm going pluck, 1, 2, put it down, 1. So let's try that together. 3, 4. Okay, at this point, try a strum. Strum 4 to 2. But I also want you guys to lift that middle finger up, because you're literally going to play again, open A, and then the 3rd fret of string 2, and then put the middle finger back down, the 2nd fret of string 2. So you have pluck, strum. Okay, here's the last part of this measure. So we have da da da. So back into that same shape that we did for that G, which was 7 and 5, but I want you to start on 5 and 3. So you're going to pluck that, go up to the 7, 5, and slide down 4 and Okay, so let's try that. 2, 3, 4 and Alright, so let's put the entire measure together now. Sounds like this. Okay, let's give it a shot slow. 3, 4. Nice. Now at this point, this next measure is a little bit tricky, but we're going to break it down. It's going to sound like this. So a really cool walk down. So let's tackle what's happening. Now, we have to think about where we left off. We left off on this slide down. So what I want you to do is to lift the ring finger up. We don't need it right now. Move the index finger down to the 2nd fret of string 1. Put the middle down on the 3rd fret of string 2. You're going to pluck those 2 notes, then hit the open G. That's going to buy you time to move this exact shape up. And guess where we're going? 10 and 9. Okay, so we're using 2nd and 1st finger for this. So you're going to go 1st, 2nd, 4. So go ahead and pluck that. 1st string, 2nd, 4th string. Then, guess where you're going? You've got it. 8 and 7, right? So 8, 7. So again, same pattern. String 1, string 2, string 4. Can you guess where we're going? 5 and 7. So back to 1st and 3rd. Same pattern. 1st, 2nd, 4th string. And you probably guessed 3, 5. So 1st, 2nd, 4th. So you have all 16th notes for the beats 2, 3, and 4. So you have 1 and 2E and 3E and 4E and that's a mouthful, right? So you can just think of it more as the music. Right, so ba da 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 da. So that's probably the easiest way to tackle that. So let's see if we can try it together slow. 3, 4. Very cool walk down. Now, here's the good news is that after this, we're going to see a bit of repetition, but before we get there, let's try 9 into 10. So here we go. 3, 4. Okay, so here's the repetition that we're getting into now. This 11th measure, listen to the first 3/4. Identical to what we did in the 9th measure. So you're doing exactly the same thing, but you're ending it. So beat 4 is different. So you're ending different. So we're going to pluck the open C and the open A, and then we're going to put middle and ring finger down, both on those same 2 strings on the 2nd fret, and just pull off. So double pull off. So you have 4 and if you put that measure together, it sounds like this. So let's give that one a shot. 3, 4. So here's what the 12th measure sounds like. And what you're going to do for this one is you're going to build the volume as you go. So you're going to start soft. Dum ba da da da. And you're going to build it until it climaxes on beat 3. So check it out. So bum ba da da da. So see if you can copy that. Now here's what I'm doing. I'm going 4 to 2, and then I'm going to put the middle finger down. So the second hit is going to be the full chord. And then I'm going to do 3 more hits, but each hit gets progressively louder. And that last one I'm going to do is a staccato hit. So I want it to mute on beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3. So copy that, Phil. 1 and 2 and 3. Now you're going to finish up this measure with that same little pickup that we saw earlier in the tune. So it's that E minor without the first string. So 4, 3, open A. Okay? So if you put it together, this measure sounds like all eighth notes, so keep it steady. Let's give it a shot. 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Nice. Now one little last tip with that staccato hit. You can see that I'm using the palm of my right hand to touch the strings to mute it. So it's very fast when it happens. Right, but it gives a nice cut to the sound. So let's try this. Let's backtrack and let's try 11 into 12, and then we'll do 9 to 12. So here we go. 3, 4. You can see that time I ended with pinky and ring. So you can try those fingerings as well for that part. It might be easier to do. So let's try this. Let's try 9 through 12 now. Here we go. 3, 4. Awesome. So moving on to the next part. So this is going to be measure number 13. So basically we're just going to see a few variations in what we've done before. So this time around we're playing out of the C major 7, and that means that our 4th string will be open as well. So I want you to strum 4 down for this first hit. But here's what the measure sounds like. So very simple. Ba ba da 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 ba ba da da. Okay, so starting with the C major 7, I can use the middle finger, or you could even use the index if you want. Try both out. After that, I'm going to hit the open G, then take the ring, put it on 3 on string 1, and do a pull off. So it sounds like that. Okay, after that, strum the open C6. So all opens. Okay, we're going to hold that out for a little bit, then play 3 on string 2, then do a hammer on 2 to 3, and then the open A. So you have ba da da da. So if you put that together, it makes sense in the context. Alright, so let's give it a shot. 3, 4. Nice. Here's what the next bar sounds like. Now with this one though, we want to throw in a little ritardando. So let me backtrack. Let me play the previous measure we just did going into this one, and listen to how we're going to slow down a little bit. So you can hear ba da 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 da, a nice gradual decline. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're working on this. So start with the D. This time around, for me, I'm going to use 2 and 3, but you can use 1 and 2. It doesn't really matter. But you're going to pluck just 3 and 2, or you can do a strum. Either one is fine. After that, you're going to play string 3, then put a finger down on the 3rd fret of string 2, and then play the open A. So it depends on which fingering you're using. If you're using 1 and 2, you use the ring finger. If you're using 2 and 3, you use the pinky. Now I prefer 2 and 3 because check out the next hit. It's going to be a higher voiced of D. So it's the same chord shape as the G. Now if I'm using 2 and 3 for the lower D, then I can slide up and lead with the ring finger and put the other two fingers down to make that G chord shape. But when you play it higher up the neck, it becomes a different chord, it becomes a D. So if that blew your mind and you're new to learning how to move shapes up the neck until they become different chords, check out this lesson that covers the caged method. Really, really cool stuff to learn. So I like to use 2 and 3 because I think it makes it easier for that transition. But let's try that. That takes us up to beat 3. So here we go. 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, now to end this, we have a hammer-on lick. So it's going to be 7, 8, 10 on string 2. Okay, so ba-da-da. Okay, so try that. Just hit pause and go first, second, pinky. Okay, if you put it together with the little ritardando, and actually let's add a fermata right there. So we're going to hold this out to fill. Hold it for as long as you want. And then finish it up with the hammer-on. Alright, so kind of like that to fill. And I'll demo these next few bars so you can kind of hear how it sounds in context. But let's try it together and let's see if we can keep it a little bit more steady. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3. And that starts on beat 4. So here we go. 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. So let's see if we can try 13 into 14. 3, 4. Now, here's what the next measure sounds like. It's really cool. Alright, so let's break down what's happening here. Now, you have two choices. You can do a full bar chord, like I've notated here, but you could also make it a lot easier. You can do a partial bar chord, and that's what I think is a lot easier to play. So go ahead and lay the index finger flat on the 7th fret from string 3 down, so 3, 2, and 1. We'll have an open G, and take the ring finger, put it on 9 on string 1. Okay, so it gives us a G major 7. So we're going to go down, down, up, and then I want you to come down with the slap, and you're going to add the pinky to 10 on string 2. And you're going to pluck 4, 3, and 2. So string 4, 3, and 2. So that sounds like this. Okay, now I'm using a chuck and a pluck technique. So if you're new to this technique, check out this lesson. I'll also put it in the description box below. So again, we have, okay, so down, down, up, slap, pluck, the G5. Okay, so at this point, I want you to keep the bar intact. So don't move the bar. And you're going to do the same 7, 8, 10 hammer on at the end of this measure. But keep the bar intact because the next measure is basically a variation playing out of the bar chords. So we don't want to do more work than we have to do. We don't have to go back to that and then lay flat. And it's just crazy, right? So check it out. If I play from the end of 14, those next two measures, you saw that I kept that bar intact. Makes it so much easier, less work for the left hand. So let's do this first. So let's do just the 15th measure together. So here we go. 3, 4. Okay, you can hear that it gets held out for a while. We have 1 and a 2 and 3, 4. Right, so that little hammer-on lick starts on beat 4. So you don't want to rush it, right? You don't want to go right into it. You want to hold it out. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. Right, so start on beat 4. So let's try it again one more time. 3, 4. Nice. All right, so let's look at the 16th measure now. It's basically a variation on 15. Sounds like this. there's the first part of it. So I'm going to start with the G major 7. I'm going to go down, down, but then when I come up, I'm going to add the pinky to 10 on string 1 and just strum up. Okay, follow that up with a slap, and then move the pinky up to the second string and pluck the G5. So you hear the melody just changes. It goes up by 1 half step. Right? Da, 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 da. So if we try that together, we have down, down, up, slap, pluck. Okay, let's give that a shot. 3, 4. Now to end this, you have open E, open G, open A. So together, sounds like that. So 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and... So you're starting the end of 3. Let's give it a shot. 3, 4. Now these opens will buy you time to move down, because you're going to be playing that exact same measure that we did for 13, but it's for measure 17. So before we get there though, let's backtrack. Let's try the last two, 15 into 16. 3, 4. Nice. Okay, so going into 17, we already know it's the same as 13. So bouncing between C major 7 to C6. Then we also know 18 is going to sound like this. Okay, so another ritardando. So start with the D, then the 3rd fret of string 2, open A, everything's the same, going up to the higher D, and just hold it out for fill, so as long as you wish. So we know 17 and 18 because they're pretty much the same as 13 and 14. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go ahead and play just everything through theme 2, just to give you context of what it sounds like. But remember, when you're practicing it, break it down like we're doing this lesson. Take a couple measures at a time and then build it from there. So do 9 and 10, and then try 11 and 12, then 9 through 12, and just build it piece by piece. Don't try to do everything from the get-go. So everything for theme 2, this is 9 through 18. Sounds a little bit like this. So it gives you a good gist of everything put together. That's a big bulk of the song. Now here's the good news, is that when we go into the last section, which I've called theme number 3, it's only a handful of bars, and some of them are just, actually they're pretty much, three of them are just copy and paste from what we already learned. So here's what the first few sound like, and you'll recognize, well, you already know it. Right, there's first one into second, here's the third one. So you know those 3 already. So the last measure, or last 2 measures, is going to sound like this. Okay, so let's take a look at that. You're going to start with that G chord, you're going to strum, you're going to hold it out. Again, you can hold this to fill, so it doesn't really matter how long. If you follow the rhythm hits up there, we have a beat and a half. But hold it to fill. And basically, we're going to play that E minor without the first string. So again, if you want to transition, you can use the pinky and then the ring finger and the open A. So it's a nice way to transition from the G chord. So strum, pinky, ring, lift the middle finger, play the open A. At that point, you're going to put the middle finger back down. Then you can use it to play 5, so just get rid of everything else, play 5 on string 1, and then go back to that G major 7. Okay, so the ending. walk up. Let's give it a shot. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, and you can add a little ritardando as well, just to give it a natural ending. But to recap theme 3, again we had the same. That same measure, then the crazy walk down. Right, then the last measure goes back to it. But remember the variation at the end for beat 4. And then you have our new little outro. Okay, so we cycle through all of that. Sounds a little bit like this. And that gives you a good gist of that last theme. So that's everything for this song, guys. So remember, build it piece by piece. It is a little tricky. It's good for that intermediate level, maybe a little bit past the beginner stage of the intermediate level, but it's a really fun piece to play. And to me, it has that Disney kind of enchanted, magical wonder kind of sound. And yeah, it's just a really cool composition. I think Stephen's strong point, or one of his strong points, is in composing catchy and cute sounding little tunes and just strong melodies, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, guys, I do want to remind you, if you do want to get the tabs to print off and just keep for your records, you can do so by clicking this link right here, or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for the name of this song, which I believe he's sticking with the name Dream State. And don't forget too, on that page will be the on-screen tab viewer, so that really cool interactive tab player where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.